Hey my YouTube friends, Late Boy Scout here with my report of front sight day 2. This is my second installment of my front sight vlog. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what I did on day 2 and what I learned. Well, we started off the day going straight to the range. There was none of that stuff that we dealt with on the first day, figuring out your equipment and having them check it for you, your ammunition, none of that stuff. No orientation, just get right to the range. One of the first things was talking about malfunction clearing drills. In fact, the first thing was not really a malfunction so much as just the empty magazine. Your gun is empty, right? That means your your slide is locked to the rear, okay? Magazine is empty, which causes the slide to be locked to the rear. And your job at that point is to remove your magazine, right? Pocket it, or whatever you're going to do with it. Index a new magazine, rock it in, slam it home, and then by whichever means you choose, either by way of this little tab right there, your slide release, slide catch, whatever you want to call it, or by doing that, you send that home, load a new round into the chamber, and you're set to go back on target, and assess and down, okay? So that was the first thing that we learned. I already knew that, but my point being, this is what was taught. Also talked about simulated stovepipes and failures to extract, and also the use of cover in any of these situations. So, talking about the simulated stovepipe. What we did was we actually took a live round and we would lock the slide back, okay, on an empty magazine or completely empty mag well. And we would actually take a live round, set it down like so, just like my finger's going into there right there, and then gently bring that slide and set it onto that live round. So the live round was actually poking out like this, simulating a failure to extract, okay? Not a failure to extract, a stovepipe, sorry. I don't remember what I said before, stovepipe. So, obviously the simple and easy way to clear that is, what we do is the tap rack bang, but not the bang, okay? Just the tap rack. So, you're on target, you you pull the trigger, press the trigger, as better said. Press the trigger, nothing happens. You've got that stovepipe, you assess it, and you recognize it quickly. So tap, and the rack you actually want to turn the gun to the side as you rack it, like that, and then back on target, okay? And the reason why you want to turn it is to just get gravity in your favor, your friend. You want it to be your friend and do whatever it can for you. Maybe that doesn't matter, okay? Maybe that doesn't matter, but you want to get gravity on your side no matter what. Okay, the next one, of course, is the failure to extract, in which case we actually, failure to extract being there is a spent casing down inside there, inside that chamber, spent casing, and your gun, by way of its slide and its action, has tried to strip a new round out of the magazine and bring it in. So it's backing up against that spent casing. That's the failure that we're trying to simulate. And in order to do that, we actually took a live round, and from this position right here, we actually dropped it right down into there, okay? And on the Glock, this is perfectly safe. And that, what we did at that point is put a full magazine in, and then bring this forward, and it only came forward just a slight bit, because as it tried to strip a round off of that, jammed up, got stuck, and that bullet would not actually come anywhere near entering the chamber, okay? So the firing pin was way above whatever bullet was trying to be stripped off. So it's perfectly safe. And in that case, after we simulated that, we got back on the line, okay? We did our press, nothing. Check it out, take cover. We also worked on reload drills, tactical reloads, emergency reloads, speed reloads. I'll just go over a couple of those real quick. Tactical reloads being you have actually been in the gunfight and you don't know how much you have left in your magazine, so to tactically reload, you want to go ahead and drop that into your hand. First thing you want to do is check to make sure that you've got a spare mag there. Then you drop this into your hand, pocket it, okay? Index the new mag, rock it in, slam it home, back on target, okay? That's the tactical reload. Next would be the speed reload, in which case you've got basically an empty magazine, okay? So your slide will be locked back in this case. You want to drop that magazine, but before you do that, you want to index that new magazine, okay? And then you release the empty one as you're bringing the new one up, okay? So in that case, they actually cross in midair about that point. And then at that point, however you want to release it, get back on target, okay? We worked on headshot drills, and we talked about reasons for headshots, why you would ever put a bullet in somebody's head. You know, in defensive shooting, you don't shoot to kill. According to front sight, it's not what you do. You shoot to stop the threat. That's it. So 2 to the thoracic cavity typically does the job. These 2 don't stop them. 1 here will. And they made a point of telling us that as you aim for your headshot, you aim for the cranial ocular cavity here, okay, around the eyes. This is where you're aiming for. The reason being, the forehead is actually the hardest part of your head, so it's designed to take impact, and perhaps a lower powered round or some other glancing blow or whatever the case could not create the penetration that you need. In here, it's much weaker. You're going to have the penetration you need to take that brain out and thereby drop that opponent. So after that long morning at the range, we had lunch obviously. Then we went straight from lunch to a lecture, which was a very nice one. Talked about the potential defensive scenarios and legal ramifications of using a gun for self-defense. Very interesting lecture. I won't go into all the details, but we talked about dealing with police after defensive encounters and being compliant and cooperative. Finding a good lawyer ahead of time, because if you end up in jail, which you very likely will after a defensive encounter, maybe not permanently, but maybe at least for the night, who are you going to call? You know, how do you know who to call? If you just go to the phone book and look for the first person you find, maybe this isn't somebody that can really help you out. Maybe you need to spend some time deciding who your lawyer will be in the case that something ever happens that you need to deal with. Another good point that they made is that there will likely be a civil suit against you if you are ever engaged in a defensive shooting encounter. So even if it was justified and the legal court case against you showed that you were not guilty, a civil suit can still be brought against you, and that can still cost you a lot of money and maybe your job and much, much more. After that lecture, we took what we learned in the morning and applied it to photographic targets. Previously, we'd only been shooting at silhouette targets. From this point on, we were shooting at photographic ones, okay, actual pictures of people. And we did that to be able to think more about the center of mass, because when you're looking at just a silhouette, it is just a gray shape. It's very easy to determine what the center of mass is and what you're shooting at, where the ocular cavity is. But when you're looking at a photographic target, it's different depending on the photograph of the person and what kind of an assailant you have. We repeated a lot of what we had already learned and what we learned from the previous day in engaging those targets, and again, bringing 2 shots to the thoracic cavity, 1 to the cranial ocular cavity. And that's one thing we practiced actually is we did a drill in which the instructors would call out, they would tell us to fire, we would present, and then take 2 shots to the thoracic cavity and begin our after-action drill, right? Well, our after-action drill is really like this, okay? And then like this, and then like this, okay? And then during that after-action drill, they would interrupt it by saying, "Head!" because this was simulating that the target was still approaching and was not down for the fight. So at this point, they'd shout out, "Head!" and we'd have to get back on target and take one slow, measured, and careful shot to the ocular cavity in order to ensure that that target was going to go down. Okay, it was not going to be a fast, just bam, 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 okay? This was actually, you take one and ensure that that target gets taken out with that follow-up shot. We talked also about verbal warnings and when it's appropriate to give verbal warnings and when it's not. We talked a lot about, and we did some demonstrations and some practicing of verbal warnings, which was very fun. Screaming out, "Stop right there," and drawing, presenting, "Stop or I'll shoot," to the paper, and then actually taking the shots that we needed to take. And then as we were going through our after action, they might scream "head," and we'd do one more. Okay, that was very fun part of the day. It was an important part of the day because one of the things we talked about also was when it's appropriate to give a verbal warning and when it's not. Sometimes somebody's coming right at you with a knife and they are within 2 seconds of, actually stabbing you, or a split second of stabbing you. There's no time to give a verbal warning. You just need to act. And also situations wherein somebody has a gun, but it's maybe not pointed at you yet. If they're in your home, for instance, and they've got a gun, but maybe they're not pointing at you at the moment, what do? Well, what I learned today is you just shoot. You just shoot. You don't tell them to drop it. Don't give a verbal warning. You just shoot as fast as you can, because the decision-making process for them, if the time to act compared to the time to react, is always faster. That's so much faster than what you can do to react and stop me. Okay? It's always going to be. We also worked on a trigger reset drill, which was very good at helping to improve accuracy, actually. The trigger reset drill was simply a matter of bringing your firearm up. Essentially what you're doing is working on pressing that trigger backwards, taking up the slack first, then pressing to engage and fire on your target. And then at that point, if this had been a loaded gun, the trigger would spring forward or want to spring forward, and you need to keep your finger back though, and you need to trap that trigger backwards and then slowly let it reset to the point that it needs to go to. Now that means that kind of helped me get over some of my bad habits, which were to actually just take my finger out of the trigger immediately after that shot. Take the shot, finger straight out. That's not a bad habit, but it doesn't help with accuracy. So, in follow-up shots and follow-up shot accuracy, trapping that trigger backward after your shot, and then slowly releasing it till you hear the click of the reset. And then for your follow-up shot, just pressing again. Okay, trapping it backward, slowly releasing till you hear the reset, and then engaging for your follow-up shot, holding steady for your follow-up shot. Okay? So that was very interesting and very helpful with accuracy, and I found that I was able to get some pretty tight groups working on that. To end the day, we had another lecture talking about tactics. And talking about tactics, basically defensive shooting within your own home. So they talked about maintaining the element of surprise, making use of cover and concealment, and those are two very different things, because cover can actually stop a bullet. Concealment only conceals you. It's only something to hide behind, but the bullet will still get you if they think they know where you are. Okay, a table, for instance, a corked door, for instance. The bullet will go straight through it and get you. Inspect everything, because you never know where the bad guy might be hiding. And they talked about one scenario where a bad guy was hiding in an oven or something like that. Okay, whatever, but there's no training for that. So inspect everything. Give everything a good look. And as you're examining rooms, go from your tips of your toes to the edge of the horizon, okay? Go up and down, as you go across. Up and down as you go across, as you view, as you scan the horizon. Use all your senses, be slow, be methodical, and you avoid what they call the fatal funnel. In other words, hallways, doorways, small spaces that can trap you, and you don't have anywhere to go side to side. Okay, that's the fatal funnel. Also, talked to us a lot about dealing with doorways, and I'll talk to you more about that in the future. Clearing rooms with both handguns and long guns. I give us some short instructions on that in this lecture, and we'll do a little bit of that tomorrow, not with long guns, but with handguns. Also, in general, just preparing us for the range work that we're going to be doing tomorrow, dealing with doors and simulators, actual simulated areas in which I think we'll be doing some shooting, some dry practice, some simulated drills. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. It should be very, very interesting. And I will give you a full report on that in the next episode of my vlog. That'll be number 3. Stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. I'm the Late Boy Scout. We'll see you guys later.